Motivational exercises. Number 1 is that long-term heating of Earth's surface observed since the pre-industrial period due to human activities, primarily fossil fuel burning, which increase heat-trapping greenhouse gas levels in Earth's atmosphere. Number 2, the behavior considered to be appropriate to a particular gender as determined by prevailing cultural norms. Number 3, as a process that creates growth, progress, positive change, or the additional of physical, economic, environmental, social, and demographic components. Number 4, an advocate of women's rights on the basis of the equality of sexes. Number 5, the characterized by or expressing hostility or discrimination toward women.
Introduction. Women constitute half of the world population in 1948. The Universal Declaration of Women's Rights reformed the equal rights of men and women. Despite this, women experience considerable disadvantage and discrimination in societies perpetuating gender differentiated structure. Gender is a socially constructed phenomenon where sex is biologically determined. The meaning of gender varies from society to society and changes over time. Women are not a homogeneous group and their lives vary depending on the place in which they live as well as their age, social class, ethic, organic, and religion.
Objectives. At the end of this chapter, the student should be able to, first, identify the ways women are excluded from the discourse of development, and second, explain how women can and should be involved in the definition and realization of development.
Growth and development. This chapter will tackle the development issues in relation to poor and vulnerable women around the world. GNP and GDP. If development is assessed in the term of the gross national product, GNP and the gross domestic product, GDP, which means that growth is measured according to how much a country is able to produce, consume, and earn. GNP include earnings from foreign investment, while GDP estimates the wealth produced from local investment and activities. GNP and GDP measure economic activity based on how much people in a country are producing in terms of income generating product and service. These variables show the amount people are paying center service and the amount of consumable and non-consumable products they are buying. The higher the GDP and GNP, the greater the economic activity. Presumably, more economic activity equate to greater earnings of the people in that country, raising their general well-being. The decline and eventual end of the world petroleum supply is also imminent. Peak oil refers to state in which all easily accessible oil has been consumed, and that the only available petroleum supply comes from resources that are very difficult to access. Oil is not only the main fuel manufacturing and transportation but is also a major resource for agriculture since modern nitrogen fixers are now petroleum-based. What is discussing the severe shortage of water that we will soon reach crisis proportion in the foreseeable future. Global warming. Earth is getting warmer. The wind pattern in the sea are changing direction. Thus, rain is not reaching its usual destination. Thus, underground water tables fed by rainwater are drying up. Temperatures are climbing higher. Mountain glaciers are also beginning to melt, which implies water scarcity in some areas dependent on mountain water. Pollution is threatening the water supply system, making water harmful for consumption and even toxic to the animals that live there. What is causing the great warming and pollution that is threatening the world water supply? Human production and consumption. Mass production is forcing current agricultural activities to use too much water from the water supply and is inducing other industries to give up waste in the environmental, resulting in widespread pollution. The Intergovernmental Panel to Climate Change caused by carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases emanated by human modes and transformation and energy intensive production and system. In the end, high level of production and consumption are the major reason of mankind dependence on oil and its depletion. Women and the dominant economic system. The pursuit for the development and destructive to the world, threatening human existence and well-being. Environmental destruction imposes most of the world people to flooding and severe weather conditions, causing loss of home, food, and water shortage and diseases.
Gender and development. Women who choose to participate in the dominant system are made to accept its values. From the perspective of the dominant system, these values are supposed to result in a better life, although these same values compel women to decide between success in the economic system and the cultivation of family and community life. It has been the situation because the dominant system, which remains unchallenged, is mainly defined by Western male values that do not hold high regard for alternative values. These observations may be true of us sexes, and even detrimental to women because these beliefs tend to place women in a position of subordination in dominant economic system. The very reason why women are relegated to roles such as teaching and health care in because they are perceived to be more caring. Women are also true of us not capable of driving of competition or being managerial positions. Cultural circumstance and historical gender assignment of roles have enforced internal and external controls that make women genuinely develop certain values. Agricultural and the values of development. Examine the development of agriculture to see how patriarchal values define what a big business is. In today's world, food is controlled by a few large corporations that value profit over ecology. These corporations produce a variety of food from freshly packed meat and canned goods to fast food and snacks. These companies supply the world with meats and cereals that are mass-produced. In order to mass-produce, they need farmers who will grow large amounts of chicken, pigs, and cows in pen. What is the problem with this form of production? One major problem is that it pollutes water system and destroys the soil. When the fertilizer seeps into the waterways, it kills the life or encourages the growth of alien organisms, thus negatively affecting the native aquatic life. Small farmers do not actually earn enough from this system because they have to keep buying expensive seeds and fertilizer and pesticides from multinational corporations.
Women in relation to development. This chapter is written not only to expose the present flaws of patriarchal values on liberal capitalism, but also to initiate critical thinking about development and to reflect on the vital role of especially poor peasant women on humanization. Non-governmental and multilateral agencies. A crucial area is the exclusion of women in decision-making and governance structures, and many agencies have worked at overcoming hindrances against the participation of women in these processes. When an institution like the World Bank institutes change, it creates reform according to its own agenda, which inevitably promotes the dominant economic system. Thus, empowerment of women is only encouraged within a system that is determined by dominant agencies and only according to certain conditions. Women are not still the primary agents who is in addition. The system in which they are empowered to serve would determine the shape of the economic order they will follow, not serve their interests. Women, Culture and Development, or WCD, approach builds the possibilities of women as agents of change in a holistic perspective that is based on women's culture, system of values and understanding as well as economic structures and social systems. WCD partners are tasked with encouraging women to take on this role. To see the potential of women shaped by this perspective allows a WCD practitioner to appreciate the multifaceted forces hindering a woman's development and emancipation. Most important purpose of WCD. WCD is to support women's initiatives that deliberate themselves without imposing ideas. In India, WCD partners have formed cooperates for women vendors to increase the latter's economic advantage and to protect them against exploitative men. Women of the Amazon have organized themselves together with other rubber tree toppers to resist rubber tree destruction. Women in several communities in Africa have also gathered together to resist genital mutilation. The book Feminist Futures about initiatives undertaken towards women's liberation. The book highlights the importance of women-initiated projects rooted in the real situation and the actions women undertake for emancipation. WCD advocates believe that women as active agents should and can be emancipated only if they emancipate themselves, with the supporting development agencies respecting this liberation. Paternalistic system means that women can be influential in determining what gets manufactured, how employees are treated, and what safety standards should be adopted. Pro-woman perspective on development. Pro-economic development may be detrimental to everyone, but it has a more negative impact on women. According to Shiva, an economic system that is geared toward growth and accumulation is anti-woman and anti-environment. She has a point. The way humans realize this accumulation is through a system of growth that understands development as the transformation of nature through manpower and technological intervention. Destructive development. From the perspective of Western development, raw nature is a wasted resource that ought to be transformed into a tradable commodity or things that can then be transformed into instrument of wealth accumulation in the market. Thus, a forest is underdeveloped unless it can be harvested for wood and converted into agricultural land for cash crop production or into real estate. Bodies of water are waste unless they can be utilized for irrigation, hydroelectric power, or bottled water. However, the more transportation goes into production, the more expensive a commodity can be sold and the more money can be made from it. In sum, the economic system intervenes and harvests nature so that it can be turned into commodities using energy-hungry, multi-step processes. Western people, women and traditional communities were denied access to their most fundamental source of life and livelihood. Using intrusive and destructive means, forests were cleared, wildlife was depleted, soil was made barren, and water was polluted and drained. Women who reside in the rural and more traditional worlds oriented towards the care of the environment, the community, and the family, because the dominant male-centric economic rationality is pervasive. These women need to preserve their way of life aggressive, destructive system. As noted above, women are responsible for the care of their families, while men are recruited for cheap labor under the westernized world. Women preserve their natural environment, keep their traditional wisdom, preserve sustainable health despite all these tasks. Their labor is not valued in fact, they are looked down as underdeveloped and are seen dependent on the dominant system for assistance in realizing genuine human flourishing.
Summary. This article focuses on how gender, as a socially constructed phenomenon, has been integrated into development practice. It examines the notion of development as generated by an economic paradigm that renders the work of women invisible. Guide question number 1. The dominant system for growth and development is said to be a patriarchal in nature. Why? Number 2. How are women displaced from dialogue about development? Cite some example discussed in the text. Number 3. Differentiate the perceived gender roles of women from men, and how can these roles influence the exacting models of development? Number 4. Distinguish the pro-women perspective from the Western view of growth and development. Number 5. How can women advocates realize the inclusion of pro-women perspective in the present economic system?